mean, I don't follow rules in general, right?
I thought about that, and there's a rule I would like to break.
There's supposedly rules to screenwriting.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Oh, man.
All right, this is a bonus episode of the Story Series podcast. Today, we're revisiting the rule I break. It's the question I ask each guest towards the end of every show. And these last 10 guests range from showrunners to startup founders to fitness experts. And their answers are all raw, revealing, but rarely simple. Warning, this episode just might increase your risk tolerance. So here we go. Every industry has rules. Some are there for a reason, and some are just begging to be broken. So what's a rule in your field that you don't follow or believe in?
The first thing I can think of is eating ice cream, cookies. Because you think fitness, you think nutrition, you're like, that stuff that isn't allowed. I incorporate it and I have a good balance with it. I eat it with my kids. I don't say no to it all the time. And I think that we just need to start normalizing that.
I love that advice. I love that. But does that mean that sometimes you do say no to it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a certain amount of, but it's just not that, going back to that restrictive dieting where it's a hard no every time.
Exactly.
So you have to give yourself grace, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a learned skill because most of us don't, right? It's that all or nothing.
Yeah.
That's kind of all too common.
And I have a huge sweet tooth. So I could eat ice cream every single day if I let myself, but I know that I'm a healthier, better person if I balance it out, and I enjoy it more too. If I had ice cream every single day, I wouldn't enjoy it as much when I do go out and get like a ice cream with my kids.
The rule I break is, there's supposedly rules to screenwriting that are made up rules that these gatekeepers came up with, like don't write "we see" in a script, don't show stage directions. And in live action, they're like, never hint that there's a camera. And I'm like, every word we put on the page is a direction for somebody. The words, the dialogue is the direction for the actor. When you say the room is blue, that's for the set decorator. You are setting up the stage. So if you need an occasional like pull back to a reveal, or you need to say "we see," I mean, people think "we see" is lazy. Maybe it is. It doesn't matter. If the script reads well and people like it, it doesn't matter. And so I guess new writers will complain with that because they'll say, well, you don't have to go through the same gatekeepers anymore. So that is true. So if you can say "we see" better, great, go for it. But if you use it, sometimes it's not a big deal because at the end of the day, real people reading scripts don't care. And so that's the main rule that I break.
I think all the rules are made to be broken. I don't like rules. There are only a few rules I don't break. And so that's a great question. So when do we talk about rules? Like if we are playing cards, then we sit on the table and now we talk about, so you have a hand of 10 cards, I have 10 cards. Now the rule is blah, blah, blah. I was born with no cards. I even didn't, before you talk about rules, I even didn't have the cards to sit on the table. So what should I do? So I even didn't refer to any rules. So I was doing everything I could just to sit on the table and play with other people. So you need to first get cards and then learn about the rules. But the rules I follow. So I'm so sorry that I cannot say what I break, but I can tell you what I follow. Any rule that's aligned with common sense. And I love common sense. And that applies to every country, to everybody, or any time. The common sense, any rule that relates to common sense, for example, respect. So do you respect your grandparents? If you respect them, of course, when I see people who work, like a superintendent who worked 20 years in a school district, of course I respect them. It's not because I want to get a contract with them. It's just I respect them as a human being. Do I keep my words? Yes, because that's common sense. I just do what I say. Because otherwise I'm not a good human being. So when they ask you, so you promised this, would you deliver? Of course I will. Even if I'm talking with a friend, I would deliver what I promised. So anything that's related to the common sense, I do it. But otherwise, I don't think the person who set up the rule is smarter than me. So why should I follow it?
You know, there's people use the phrase jack of all trades, master of none. Like it's a bad thing. Everybody wants to be a master of something, you know. But so the general concept is, well, if you do this, then you probably can't do this as well, or if you do that, you can't do that. And I think that's BS. For me, it was BS. I mean, I did sound. I did well at it. You know, people came to me repeatedly to keep doing films, you know, to do sound for films. And then I got into music, and people are coming to me to do music. And I love mixing. Now, I'm not a mixer, you know. It's like I play drums, I'm not a drummer. I mix, but I'm not a mixer. Because I know the level that I would love to engage with people, to have them work with me at their master level, right? But I think that I don't believe in that. I don't believe that if you do one thing, then you can't do another thing, and can't do them both really well. So that's one. The other one is the concept of 10,000 hours. You know, there's that. If you have to put in 10,000 hours before you could be considered good at something. I think it's 10,000 hours to get competent. I think it's another 10,000 hours to get really good. And then I think it's an infinite number of hours till you're dead, that you're constantly pursuing and learning and growing all the time. Somebody asked, Quincy Jones has this story where he says, you know, people ask him, when was it that you arrived? Then you knew that you had arrived. He said, I still haven't. And that's after Thriller and like everything, all the movies that he scored and all the records that he did and the arranging and the playing in a band leader and all that stuff.
You know, on that same topic, Bob Dylan said one time, somebody asked him about the growth of an artist and how do you know, when did you feel like you've arrived? It was that same kind of question. And he said that an artist has to feel like they're in a constant state of becoming.
Yes.
And then if you think that, he goes, you'll sort of be all right.
Oh, man.
I don't really believe in outlining. I do it because it helps me sort of feel like I have some sort of path to follow, but that outline goes out the door so fast. Like when I'm writing, I do not stick to that outline at all. It kind of gives me some security, but I don't feel the need to stick to that outline at all.
Because so it's a rough guide.
It's a rough guide. I find that inspiration is a funny thing. It's a funny thing. Like first of all, you cannot depend on inspiration in any way. You cannot depend on it. You just have to sit down. You know this. You just have to sit down and write, no matter what you feel like. And so, but the thing is that inspiration shows up in really weird ways and you have to listen to it.
I mean, I don't follow rules in general, right? So like in my field, well, I think the main rule that I don't follow is that don't tell me what to do. Tell me the problem when we find a solution together. Don't tell me how to feel. Don't tell me what I'm capable of, right? And don't put me in a damn box. Like, okay, yes, I've done preschool. Yes, I know it very, very well. But it's storytelling and it's character. And just because it's animation doesn't mean I can't do live action. So right now I'm working on a live action movie idea for myself because why not? Don't tell me where I belong. Don't tell me my lane. Like, don't tell me what I'm capable of. Just because you're not capable of thinking outside of the box doesn't mean I'm not.
I thought about that, and there's a rule I would like to break, and I only did it once, and that is that when a manager or producer asks for unsolicited submissions, like every now and then on social media, a manager will say, "Hey, you know what, guys? I'm gonna accept some unsolicited submissions. I want to see what's out there," and they always say, "Just send me a single email with one log line, and make it the log line of your best script." And that bugs me because then that writer has to, first of all, kind of guess what they're looking for. Like a manager, they're not looking for everything, right? There's probably certain niches, certain budget levels, certain relationships that they have that do break down to certain types of projects. Okay. So, and the thing is, a writer develops over time, and I don't think a writer should be penned in by one genre. You know, a good writer, a good screenwriter can write in multiple genres, multiple budget levels, and over time they develop different material. Okay, so I see that managers and producers today, they want a writer to come to them fully formed, focused only on one genre, and only show them one logline for one script. And if they don't like that logline, pass, and they'll never hear from that writer again. And I don't like that because that writer may have 2 other scripts that would be better for that producer, that would be better for that manager, that they could do more with, and they see more potential. So I would like to see a manager producer say, send me 3 log lines for your 3 best scripts, okay? Because you may have like, I have 4 half-hour dramedy pilots that I wrote. One of them is a high school story about a girl in high school. So it's kind of like a YA show, if you will. But that's not the thing that I normally write. That's kind of an outlier. But that happens to be the piece of material that I've gotten the most response from, right? But it's not what I want to write. I do not want to be labeled, oh, Dan writes on teen shows with female protagonists. But if I send that logline to a manager, they're going to think that's what I do. And if they don't like that logline, they're going to pass on me and they're never going to hear from me again. They're never going to want to hear from me again. And I've had that where I've referred writers to managers and they just totally ghosted them. And I was like, why are you ghosting them? You know, like I told you reasons why this writer has potential and you have more than one logline, you know, give them a whirl, give it a try. So I'd like to see people invest a little bit more time in finding out who a writer is, what material do they have, because as we know, as a writer, you may think this project's the big hit I have. This is going to be the big blockbuster hit. But then a manager sits down and says, tell me about your other scripts. And the third thing you mentioned, they go, wait, I want to know about that. You know, I want to read that script, not this one that you thought was going to be the blockbuster.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Okay. In my field that I don't follow, I am comfortable saying no. And I'm comfortable saying no with things that most people probably wouldn't say no with if it doesn't resonate with me or if it doesn't fit right with me now.
What's an example, if you can share?
So I was, I said no to a project because the travel schedule was too much where I just needed to focus on my daughter more. So I won't always say no to something because it's another hosting job. It has to fit my lifestyle now. It has to fit my wanting to be. So I'll host shows, but I don't want to be away for more than 3 weeks at a time. So like 3 weeks is even pushing it. But if I can come home, so this was like one of those things where, you know, I had to be gone for like 6 months and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So, but I don't know if that's breaking a rule.
Well, something that you said was if it doesn't fit your lifestyle now, whereas before, you tell me if it's true, so often we will shape our lifestyle around the opportunity.
Yes.
Whereas now it's like, no, if it doesn't fit me, no, thank you. But whereas you're just like, you're a chameleon. I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll do that. But
yeah, no, not anymore. I mean, you kind of get that way when you're a little bit older. You kind of decide, what do I want to do? What don't I want to do?
That's a tough one. And, you know, the reason why that's tough for me is because I didn't come up through sort of that traditional channel where I knew what the rules were. So, you know, if you came up through big agency kind of stuff, it's like, this is how this happens. This is how that. I don't know that. I don't know the methodology a lot of the time. I'm just like, okay, here's a situation. I got to figure it out. It's not like I feel like I'm breaking rules. If anything, I would say the rule that I break is I like my clients to have a lot of information. I get the feeling that some agents don't. They don't want to. They don't. I've got a scenario where a client is at a big agency. I share this client, and she's very entrepreneurial, and she has a career. She already has a great career. She came to me. We've known each other for years, and she recently came to me, and she was like, in a I want to do some other things. I want to work in an area that I'm not known for, but her skill set and her history in this other area those skills translate so perfectly into this other world. And a lot of Hollywood won't recognize that, or they won't take the time to go, oh, you want to do this? Well, you don't do this, you do that. And it's like, dude, look at the skills you have to do this and how they translate, and they do. So it's like, yeah, I want to try to help you do this. And she's at a big agency, and she's very entrepreneurial, and she'll reach out to people who I'm like, I can't get to that person. And she's smart and she's sophisticated and she gets to them. And I'm like, hell yes. And, at one point the big agent called me and sometimes, like, oh, she wants to go after some of that big agency's own clients, wants to get to them, and they won't help. They don't help you get there. And it's like, oh, so-and-so is a client and she reached out to them and, you got to get control of her. And I'm like, really? No. Are you kidding? I'm not going to cut her wings.
For me, it was like rules of the corporate jobs I was at. So like at Disney, an example of that was you talk to this person and this. So if you want to do something for Lucasfilm, here's your handlers that you talk to that then they talk to Lucasfilm and all that. Right. So when I had just made a series for Lucasfilm, we had just made these 40 explainer videos for Star Wars, for the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel. And they were great. They were like, who are the Jedi? What's the Force? What are lightsabers? We did like a minute on each topic. And they were so cool. And as we were finishing them, I said to my producer, isn't this so sad? Like, we're done with Star Wars. Like, don't you wish we had another Star Wars show to work on? He goes, yeah, are you kidding? And I said, well, maybe we can. And he goes, well, how? And I said, well, we just worked with them directly because, that came in through the proper channels, right? Like that show. Maybe they want to do something else. Well, are we allowed to ask them? I said, it doesn't matter. Let's just ask. So that was a rule to break, like I'll ask for forgiveness, not permission. Like that's kind of how I would frame that. So long story short, we went directly to Lucasfilm and the people we had just worked with and said, what else are you looking to do? Do you want to do something else on YouTube next? And they said, yeah, actually we do. And like, we're looking for droids and we want to do like a nature show and a this and that. So we came back with like 6 pitches, a month later and went directly to them. And they said, we would do 3 of these. We would, can you budget 3 of these? And I'm like, I started budgeting them. And then they ended up whittling down to 1, but we got to make 1. They gave us, $1 million, whatever. We made this like season 1 of a show, like a scrappy YouTube series for Star Wars kids. And my boss at Disney came to me and says, who told you you could talk to them? I said, oh, well, we were just working with them for 6 months, making that other show. And he says, well, don't you know you need to talk to that other person first? And I said, well, but we were already talking with the execs that we were working with. Doesn't Disney want to break those walls down? Don't we want to make this company smaller, not like more siloed? And he's like, well, you're going to have to talk to like the VP. So I had to go into the VP and I got a big wrist slap, like, cause you weren't supposed to do that. And then the irony is, we deliver season 1 of the show, and as we're making it, Target comes aboard as a partner and is like, oh, we want the show. Can we do plushies? Can we do plushies that are exclusive to Target? Can we have episodes exclusive to our broadcast system in Target? And then like activity books came on board, early reader books came on board. And then I had to make a deck. Disney then asked me, can you make a deck of the synergy you created through that show? Because we want to show it to other departments, like to show what's possible. And none of that would have been possible had I gone through the correct channels and asked for permission, because I wouldn't have gotten it. They would have said, no, they're not going to want to do something like that. But because I just circumvented it, I got to help Disney with something that they didn't even know they needed.
Hey, before you go, thank you for listening. If something in this episode moved you or even made you pause for a second, please consider following the show, leaving a review, and signing up for the weekly newsletter at storyseriespodcast.com. That's where I share my personal takeaways from each episode, what stuck with me and why, one story at a time. See you in the next one.